It was a Friday night, the kind where the air felt heavy with noise and people were already losing themselves in the music. Chloe had insisted that we attend her friend's party. Even though gatherings like these were never really my scene, too many people packed into one place, too much shouting over loudspeakers, too much forced enthusiasm, I went anyway. I wanted her to enjoy herself. The moment we walked through the door, she came alive. It was as if she belonged in that room. She moved effortlessly from one group to another, laughing loudly, tossing her hair, and slipping into every conversation as though she'd been preparing for it all week. I watched her from the sidelines, hoping she'd share even a small moment with me. When our eyes met, I smiled warmly and extended my hand, silently inviting her to dance. She didn't hesitate. She didn't soften. Instead, she laughed, a sharp, dismissive laugh, and said loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear, "Why would I dance with you?" For a moment, everything seemed to stop. The music, the laughter, the conversations, all of it faded beneath the sting of those words. I stood there exposed and embarrassed, fully aware that several people had heard her. I could have exploded in frustration, caused a scene, or simply walked out, but I didn't. Something shifted inside me. A strange sense of clarity settled over me. I realized that reacting would only feed whatever game she was trying to play. So I let the moment pass. I kept my expression calm, even though my chest felt tight. Chloe turned back to her friends as if nothing had happened. A few nearby guests exchanged uncomfortable glances, the kind people share when they've just witnessed something they know wasn't right. But I didn't dwell on their sympathy. I simply remained where I was, composed and steady. Then, unexpectedly, two women approached me. They wore relaxed smiles and carried themselves with an easy confidence that naturally drew attention. One of them tilted her head and said, "Since you're not busy—" She gestured toward the dance floor. My surprise quickly gave way to a quiet sense of confidence. Chloe had tried to humiliate me, but instead, the moment had made me stand out. My refusal to crack under pressure seemed to attract people rather than push them away. With a polite smile, I accepted their invitation and walked with them toward the center of the room. The change was immediate. Chloe noticed us within seconds. Her laughter stopped mid-sentence, and disbelief flashed across her face as her expression tightened. She hadn't expected me to recover from her insult. Not that smoothly, not that confidently, and certainly not alongside two women who genuinely seemed happy to spend time with me. As the music pulsed through the room, I danced comfortably. The women were fun, easygoing, and completely unconcerned with the drama unfolding nearby. They laughed, joked, and moved with the rhythm, making the entire situation feel effortless. People began to watch. Some whispered, others smiled knowingly. The energy in the room slowly shifted away from Chloe and toward us. The embarrassment she had intended for me didn't just fail, it backfired completely. Chloe's friends stared, unsure of how to react. The people who had heard her earlier now looked back and forth between us, realizing just how badly her attempt to put me down had collapsed. Chloe stood stiffly, trying to hide the embarrassment building inside her, but it was already too late. The story had changed. Instead of appearing confident and superior, she now looked petty and immature. Meanwhile, I remained calm. I didn't exaggerate the moment. I didn't show off. I simply allowed my quiet confidence to fill the space she had tried to take away from me. When the song ended, I sincerely thanked the two women and stepped back to where I had been standing before. Chloe wouldn't meet my eyes. She seemed smaller somehow, weighed down by the consequences of her own actions. The tension hanging in the room was impossible to ignore. Later, after the crowd had thinned a little, she finally approached me. Her voice was quieter now, uncertain and edged with frustration she couldn't quite hide. That wasn't fair, she muttered. I looked at her calmly. There was no anger, no bitterness, only honesty. Life isn't fair, I replied quietly. There was nothing else that needed to be said. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to defend myself. My actions had spoken more clearly than any confrontation ever could. When we left the party, the walk back to the car was silent. Chloe no longer carried the confidence she had walked in with. The fire that had fueled her earlier behavior was gone. Instead, she seemed lost in thought, forced to confront what she had started and what it had become. That night marked a turning point. She had intended to embarrass me, to establish some kind of dominance at my expense. Instead, she revealed her own disrespect, and without raising my voice, I showed her that I refused to be treated that way. I reclaimed my dignity through composure rather than conflict, and everyone who witnessed it understood exactly what had changed.